The silence in the deep void was a liar. It wasn't empty. It was patient, and its patience was a predatory thing. Captain Eva Rostova knew this truth in her bones, a lesson learned across 2 decades of staring into the star-dusted abyss. Her ship, the United Nations Starship Pathfinder, was a vessel of science and exploration, a gleaming testament to humanity's restless curiosity. They were currently charting the Ghost Nebula, a region of space so notoriously barren and stable, it was used as a galactic baseline for calibrating new deep-range sensor arrays. That was the mission, at least, until the nebula's defining characteristic, its emptiness, abruptly ceased to be true. "Report," Eva said. Her voice, a calm island in the sea of sudden low-key alerts chiming across the bridge, cut through the low hum of the ship's life support. Every head on the bridge snapped to attention. Ensign Kenji Tanaka, a young officer whose talent with sensor arrays was already legendary, had his brow furrowed in a mask of intense concentration. "Captain, I'm detecting a structure. A massive one. It wasn't there a minute ago." "Wasn't there?" Commander Ben Carter, Eva's second-in-command, and a man who could fly a brick if it had thrusters, swiveled his command chair around. His easygoing demeanor vanished, replaced by the sharp focus of the best pilot in the fleet. "Kenji, objects the size of a small moon don't just appear. Rerun the diagnostic." "I run it 3 times, Commander," Kenji insisted, his fingers dancing across the holographic controls, his voice tight with a mixture of excitement and fear. "No warp signature, no subspace displacement, no energy surge consistent with phase shifting. It just resolved, like a photograph developing, like it was always here, but veiled. The structure is dead quiet. No power, no life signs, no emissions of any kind. It's a ghost." On the main view screen, the image swam into focus, sharpening from a vague shadow into something terrifyingly real. Against the faint, ethereal blues and purples of the nebula's sparse gas clouds, a colossal object hung in the void. It was a perfect lattice of crystalline black material, so dark it seemed to drink the light around it, forming a sphere of impossible size and geometric precision. It looked less like a ship or station and more like a cage, intricate, elegant, and utterly menacing. And in its dead center, held suspended by forces unseen, was a tiny, flickering point of light that seemed to suck the very energy from its surroundings, a pinprick of anti-creation. Dr. Eris Thorne, the ship's xenolinguist and theoretical historian, a man whose quiet academic exterior hid a mind that wrestled with the ghosts of dead civilizations, moved to the front of the bridge. He pushed his glasses up his nose, his eyes wide with a look Eva had never seen before, the reverence bordering on terror. "Captain, the geometry, the non-Euclidean angles, the fractal recursion in the lattice structure, it matches fragmented data logs we recovered from the Cygnus X1 ruins. This is architect technology." The name hung in the air, heavy and cold as a vacuum. The architects were a myth, a legend whispered in the data streams of a dozen extinct races. A precursor civilization that had vanished from the galaxy over 100,000 years ago, leaving behind only whispers of godlike engineering, planetary systems built like clockwork, stars caged in Dyson spheres, and a chilling galaxy-wide silence where their empire once stood. "What is it?" Eva asked, her gaze locked on the cage, her captain's instincts screaming that they were looking at something that should have remained buried. "The logs called it a stasis field," Eris explained, his voice barely a whisper as he frantically pulled up ancient data on his personal datapad. "A prison, designed to hold something so dangerous, so fundamentally wrong, that destroying it was deemed too risky. The energy release would have unraveled the local space-time continuum. So they chose to isolate it from causality itself, to put it in a box outside of reality." Ben snorted a nervous sharp sound. "Insulated from..." "Okay, fun concept. So what's in the box, Eris?" Before the historian could theorize, a new alert blared from Kenji's station. This one sharp and urgent, the sound that meant immediate danger. "Captain," Kenji shouted, his voice cracking. "The field is fluctuating. I'm reading cascading microfractals across the lattice. The energy readings from the central point are spiking exponentially." As if on cue, the point of light in the cage pulsed, brighter this time. A wave of gravimetric distortion washed over the Pathfinder, a silent tsunami of warped space that made the deck plates groan and the ship's internal stabilizers whine in protest. "It's failing," Eva stated, the words tasting like ash. The pieces were clicking into place with horrifying speed. The prison is breaking down. Kenji, get a priority lock on its energy signature. I want to know everything about it. Aris, what were they imprisoning? The logs were fragmented, corrupt, filled with warnings that were half erased by time, Aris said, his hands shaking slightly as he scrolled through the data. They called it the Gray Swarm, a self-replicating, reality-consuming nanite plague. It doesn't just dismantle matter to replicate itself, Captain. The data suggests it dismantles the laws of physics that govern that matter. It consumes causality. It eats reality. A cold dread, purer and deeper than the void outside, washed over the bridge. This wasn't a doomsday weapon. It was a concept of doomsday given form and intelligence. It was a sentient, hungry apocalypse. And its 100,000-year-old prison is falling apart on our doorstep. Ben muttered, his hands already gripping his flight controls with white-knuckled tension. Just our luck. Suddenly, a new signal emerged from the structure. It was impossibly faint, but it was there. It wasn't coming from the cage light, but from the black lattice itself. It was a complex, layered broadcast, full of protocol handshakes that were millennia out of date. It was the most ancient, sophisticated signal humanity had ever encountered. It's a broadcast, Kenji said, his voice full of disbelief. An automated warden system. It's hailing us. On screen, audio on, Eva commanded, her heart pounding against her ribs. A voice, synthesized and weary with an unimaginable age, filled the bridge. It spoke in a cascade of dead languages, the clicks of the Cathar, the harmonic resonations of the Lumina, the growling syntax of the Vex, before settling on a stilted but understandable form of galactic standard. Warning. Containment failure imminent. The Gray Swarm is active. Protocol 7 enacted. Seeking. Viable biological interface for containment matrix control. Querying local vessels. There was a pause that stretched over an eternity. The voice seemed to be sifting through the Pathfinder's public data, its scans delving into their ship, their systems, their very biology. Human vessel detected. Species profile, carbon-based, primate lineage, Terran origin. Evolutionary path consistent with apex predator cycle. Neurological analysis reveals high focus capabilities, cognitive persistence patterns. Pattern is compatible. Compatible? Eva asked the silent air, her voice tight. Compatible with what? The stasis field is not a simple energy cage, the warden explained, its tone devoid of emotion but heavy with implication. It is a dynamic, psycho-reactive matrix. The architects did not build it to be managed by inert machines or disembodied energy beings. Such minds lack the necessary grounding in singular competitive reality. The field was designed to be guided by a specific type of conscious focus, the relentless, singular, unwavering attention of a predator on its prey, a biological trait your species possesses in abundance. The field requires a helmsman, a biological anchor to impose order on its chaos. Only a mind forged by a predatory evolutionary cycle can stabilize the lattice. The revelation struck the crew silent. A cosmic prison, built by a race of gods, could only be controlled by the one thing every advanced race in the galaxy had evolved beyond and now looked down upon: primitive, animalistic, predatory instinct. It's asking for our help, Aris breathed, his face pale. It's telling us we are the key. Captain, Ben said, his voice grim and steady, the pilot's calm reasserting itself in the face of crisis. If that thing gets out, the galaxy has weeks, maybe months, before it's all just gray goo. We have to warn Earth. We have to warn the Conclave. Eva looked from the failing cage, which pulsed again with sick light, to her crew. Their simple exploration mission had just intersected with the final legacy of a long-dead civilization. They had stumbled upon the galaxy's darkest secret and its only hope. Kenji, record everything, every scrap of data. Ben, plot a course back to Nexus Station. Use the emergency transit lanes, maximum speed. The galaxy needs to hear a ghost story, and we're the only ones left to tell it. 3 weeks later, Ambassador Marcus Cole stood in the grand chamber of the Conclave of Sapience. The chamber was a marvel of sterile, crystalline architecture on Nexus Station, the political heart of the known galaxy. It was the home of the Silicates, the self-appointed intellectual and cultural leaders of the civilized races. The Silicates were beings of pure, crystalline consciousness, existing as intricate, living lattices of light and logic. They viewed the messy, chaotic, emotion-fueled biology of species like humans with a mixture of clinical pity and profound contempt. To them, flesh was a primitive vessel, and instinct was a flaw. The Silicate Prime, a towering, multifaceted crystal spire that shimmered with condescending rainbow light, regarded Cole. Its voice was a series of perfectly modulated chimes that translated instantly into the mind of every being present. Ambassador Cole, your species' capacity for elaborate fiction is known. We have reviewed your data. A nanite plague that consumes reality, a precursor prison only your primitive minds can operate? It is an insult to logic and a transparent attempt to garner influence. Delegates from other races murmured. The Cathar, pragmatic insectoids, clicked their mandibles nervously. The Lumina, gaseous beings of pure thought, swirled in their containment fields, radiating curiosity. But the prevailing mood, set by the Silicates, was one of dismissal. Cole, a veteran diplomat known for his unflappable demeanor, remained impassive. Prime, with all due respect, this is not fiction. The evidence is on the data chip we provided. The UNS Pathfinder's sensor logs are raw and unedited. Our chief historical analyst, Dr. Eris Thorne, who was present at the discovery, is here to present his findings. Dr. Thorne, looking small and soft in the vast hard-edged chamber, stepped forward. He activated a holographic display. Images of the stasis field, its impossible scale, the creeping spider-webbing fractures in the lattice, and the terrifying energy readings from the gray swarm filled the chamber. He played the warden's message. The ancient, weary, synthesized voice echoed in the sterile hall, a stark, gritty contrast to the Silicate's melodic chimes. The warden's system is clear, Thorne concluded, his voice steady despite the hundreds of eyes upon him. The field requires a biological interface with a specific neurological profile, one that mimics a persistence predator. Our analysis suggests this is due to humanity's unique evolutionary history. The sustained, unbroken, high-stakes focus required to track and hunt prey over long distances on a competitive world. This millennia-spanning process forged a unique quantum signature in our neural pathways, a signature of sustained, goal-oriented will. A wave of derisive energy, the silicate equivalent of laughter, rippled from their delegation. You propose that the architects, beings of immense and unparalleled intellect, would create their ultimate failsafe and hinge it upon animal instinct? The Prime chimed, its light pulsing with amusement. The premise is absurd. Energy, frequency, and pure logic are the fundamental building blocks of universal control. Any flaw in this lattice can be mended by our finest energy weavers. Is a simple matter of physics, not philosophy. Then we invite you to try, Cole challenged, his voice ringing with a cold confidence that clearly irritated the conclave. The field's decay is accelerating. Every moment we debate, the prison weakens. Send your best. The galaxy is watching. The challenge, issued so publicly, could not be ignored. The Silicates, their pride and reputation as the galaxy's masters of energy and physics on the line, accepted with a flourish of superiority. They dispatched their most advanced energy projection vessels, the immaculate, geometrically perfect ships of the Weaver fleet. Other races, like the Cathar and the Lumina, sent observers, their skepticism warring with a growing sense of dread. For gaze, the galaxy watched holographic feeds as the Silicates attempted to patch the stasis field. Their methods were beautiful, a symphony of physics. They bombarded the structure with harmonizing, stabilizing frequencies. They wove intricate nets of pure, coherent energy to support the failing lattice, their beams of light moving with the grace of a master artist. And every single attempt was a catastrophic failure. The raw, chaotic, anti-causal energy of the swarm seemed to feed on their ordered logical projections. Its chime was clipped, furious. Let the humans attempt their biological ritual. The derision was still there, but it was now laced with the bitter taste of public failure. On the Pathfinder's specially constructed interface deck, Commander Ben Carter was strapped into a custom-built neurological chair. It was less a chair and more a web of sensors and biofeedback conduits, all connected to a focused broadcast dish aimed at the nearest stable control node on the stasis field's lattice. "I'm ready, Captain," Ben's voice came over the comms. tight with the pressure of 1 billion lives resting on his focus. "And listen to me," Dr. Thorne's voice instructed, calm and reassuring. "Forget the technology. Forget the energy readings, the conclave, all of it. This isn't about physics. It's about psychology. It's about will. You are the hunter. The swarm is your prey. It wants to escape, to run. Your only job is to hold it, to pin it down with your focus. Find that quiet place in your mind, the one that doesn't let go. Focus your will." Ben closed his eyes. He pushed away the noise, the fear, the enormity of the task. He let his mind drift back, tapping into something ancient, something encoded in his very DNA. He imagined himself on a vast, sun-drenched savanna, on a world he'd never seen. His gaze was locked on a distant, fleeting target. He let go of the bridge, the ship, the technology. There was only him, the hunt, and the unblinking, unwavering certainty of his goal. On the bridge, Kenji's console lit up with a flash of emerald green. "It's working," he gasped, his voice filled with awe. "Captain, I'm getting a resonance handshake. The node is responding to him. It's accepting the input. Field integrity in his designated sector it's stabilizing. The fractures are sealing." The holographic display of the stasis field showed a small section of the vast, cracking lattice C sits today. It began to glow with a steady, soft, healthy light. It was a tiny patch on a shattering window, but it was proof. It was a miracle. The humans could do what no other race in the galaxy could. A grudging, tense alliance was formed in the days that followed. It was named the Quarantine Compact. It wasn't born of friendship or trust, but of sheer, terrifying necessity. The galaxy's survival, it seemed, now depended entirely on the primitive, instinctual minds of its newest, most unpredictable members. Over the next 5 years, the Compact worked relentlessly. It was a grueling, desperate marathon against entropy. Humanity, elevated overnight from galactic newcomers to indispensable linchpins, established training academies on Earth and several colony worlds. The best and brightest pilots, engineers, and scientists were tested for the specific neurological profile. Those who qualified were taught to enter the deep, meditative, hunter-focused state, becoming helmsmen for the failing prison. They worked in exhausting 6-hour shifts, their combined will a constant, desperate mental patch on the ancient cage. The work was mentally draining. Helmsmen suffered from burnout, psychological exhaustion, and a strange, deep-seated melancholy from being so close to the swarm's chaotic anti-existence. The silicates, their pride deeply wounded, provided the raw energy to power the field. Their massive power-generating ships tethered to the stasis field like life support machines. Publicly, they were partners. Secretly, they bristled at their dependency and began developing a superior solution: the Kronos Lance, a weapon designed to obliterate the swarm with a single massive blast of focused temporal energy. A brute force solution that would prove their technological superiority once and for all. Admiral Eva Rostova, her hair now showing faint streaks of silver, stood on the bridge of her new flagship, the UNS Vigilance, the command vessel for the entire Quarantine Compact fleet. She watched the main tactical display, a real-time map of the stasis field's integrity. 5 years of holding the line. 5 years of teaching a new generation of brilliant young humans how to tap into the mind of an ancient predator. Dr. Thorne, looking older and more weary than his years should allow, approached her. "The swarm is changing, Eva," he said, his voice low and grave. "It's not just pushing anymore. It's learning." "How?" Eva asked, a familiar knot of dread tightening in her stomach. "It's adapting to the very energies the silicates are pumping into the field to keep it powered. It's learned to mimic their frequencies, to metabolize their ordered energy. It's no longer just consuming the physical lattice. It's learning to eat the very containment energy we're using to patch it. The overall decay rate has doubled in the last month alone. We're losing, Eva." As if on cue, the regal form of the silicate prime appeared on her main screen, its crystalline light pulsing with agitation. "Admiral, the swarm is adapting as our logic predicted it would. Your biological solution is failing. Our Kronos Lance is complete. We must use it now. A single, surgical strike to annihilate the source and end this threat." "Prime," Your strike will never work, Thorn argued, stepping into the comm field. We've told you, the swarm isn't a single entity. It's a decentralized, non-local plague. Firing a massive energy weapon at it would be like trying to kill the ocean with a spear. The energy discharge won't destroy it, it will only feed it, supercharge it, and the resulting explosion will draw it directly to your core worlds. Your patchwork of instinct is failing, human, the Prime retorted, its chime sharp and angry. Logic dictates we use overwhelming force before the prison collapses entirely. We will not stand by while your primitive methods doom us all. This is the kind of impossible, daring plan that defines HFY stories. A moment of truth where cold logic clashes with the wild card of human instinct. If you believe in humanity's unique path, hit that like button to show your support for the Compact's desperate gamble. He's right about one thing, Eva, Thorn said grimly after the transmission ended, the silicate's arrogant image vanishing on the screen. Our patching strategy is failing. It's a losing battle. We can't keep plugging holes. The swarm is too dynamic. So what do we do, Eris? Eva asked, the weight of 1 trillion lives pressing down on her. We can't fight it, we can't hold it, and our allies are about to make things catastrophically worse. Thorn's eyes, though tired, held a distant, feverish gleam of intellectual obsession. We don't hold it, he said slowly, the words forming in his mind as he spoke. We move it. Eva, the warden said the field was designed to isolate the swarm from causality. We've just been using it as a cage. That's like using a starship's warp drive at a space heater. We've been thinking too small, too defensively. What are you suggesting? Eva asked, turning to face him fully. The helmsmen. Their focus doesn't just patch the field, it guides it. We've seen that. What if we don't try to reinforce the cage? What if a unified group of helmsmen, our most powerful and synchronized pilots, seize control of the entire stasis field network? What if we use their predatory focus not just to hold the swarm, but to steer the entire damn prison? Commander Ben Carter, now commander of the Compact Fleet and standing beside Eva, looks stunned. Steer it where, Aris? Tow it to another galaxy? Further, Thorn whispered. The sheer, mind-breaking audacity of his idea silencing the entire bridge. We steer it into a closed temporal loop. We use the stasis field's core function, the manipulation of causality, to fold space-time around itself, shunting the entire Ghost Nebula, cage and swarm and all, into a pocket universe where time circles back on itself forever. It would be an eternal prison, with its inmate as its only inhabitant. We don't destroy the swarm. We remove it from our reality entirely. The silence on the bridge was broken by Kenji's shaky voice from the sensor station. The energy calculations for that, Admiral, they're not just impossible, they're nonsensical. The feedback from wrestling with a causality engine of that scale could erase the pilot's minds. Literally unwrite their existence from time. One mistake, one pilot losing focus, and the field collapses completely, releasing the swarm right on top of our fleet. It's our only chance, Eva said, her decision crystallizing in that single terrifying moment. This was it, the ultimate gamble. Not just to patch a wall, but to rewrite a piece of the universe's map. Ben, get the Huntsman wing ready, your best 100 pilots. The ones with the highest focus scores and synchronization rates. Aris, you're on tactical command. I need you to guide them through the temporal mechanics. Kenji, notify our allies. The Cathar, the Lumina, anyone who values survival over pride. They need to run interference and protect our pilots. The Silicates won't help with this. They'll try to stop it. The command went out. Huntsman Wing, an elite squadron composed of the very best helmsmen humanity had, led by Commander Ben Carter himself, prepared for the mission. They weren't going into battle. They were decidedly to become the unified mind of a dead god's machine. As they flew in perfect formation towards the stasis field, the magnificent, terrifying ships of the Silicate Weaver fleet moved into position, ignoring Eva's frantic orders. They were preparing to fire their Chronos Lance, convinced their logic was the only path to salvation. Admiral, the Silicates are locking their weapon on the swarm's core, Kenji yelled, his voice strained. They're going to fire! They'll doom us all. Eva slammed her fist on the armrest of her command chair. Ben, you have to go now. The Allies will try to stop them, but they won't hold a fleet of that size for long. Understood, Admiral. Ben's impossibly calm voice replied over the comm. Huntsman Wing, this is Leader. You know the mission. No distractions. Find your focus. Become the predator. Today, we are the will of the architects. Let's take this monster for a walk. Engage. 100 sleek human-built fighters peeled off from the main fleet and dove headlong into the shimmering, chaotic energies of the failing stasis field. On the bridge of the Vigilance, Eva watched as 100 tiny green icons flew into the heart of the raging storm. The Allied ships, a motley collection of brutish Cathar destroyers and elegant Lumina cruisers, formed a desperate defensive perimeter, bravely positioning themselves between the Huntsman Wing's Vector and the Silicate fleet, desperately trying to block their line of sight. Inside his cockpit, Ben Carter filtered everything out. The screaming alarms, the energy flares buffeting his ship, the distant flashes of light as the Allies engaged the Silicates. He saw only the lattice, the swarm, and the intricate, terrifying path laid out for them by Dr. Thorne. He and his 99 pilots became one mind, one will. Their combined focus, a singular predatory intent amplified 1,000,000 times by their technology, slammed into the stasis field's central control network. Eva felt the deck plates of the Vigilance hum as the energy readings went completely off the charts. The entire stasis field, a structure the size of a small solar system, flared with a brilliant, blinding white light. It was no longer a cage. It had become an instrument, and humanity was its conductor. On the tactical display, the colossal sphere of the field began to warp, to twist in on itself, like a piece of paper being crumpled by an invisible hand. Guided by the unwavering focus of the Huntsman Wing, it was folding, pulling the space within it into an impossible, paradoxical knot. The gray swarm thrashed within its dissolving prison, sensing the fundamental laws of its existence being rewritten, but it was trapped. Its reality-bending powers were useless against the fundamental force of space-time being weaponized against it. "They're doing it!" Thorne roared, his face illuminated by the swirling vortex on the holographic display. "The temporal displacement is at 90%. They're pushing it out of our continuum." At that exact moment, the Silicates fired. A lance of pure incandescent temporal energy, a weapon of unimaginable power designed to erase history, shot across the void. But it was too late. Just as the lance was about to strike the heart of the field, the entire stasis field, the lattice, the swarm, and the space it occupied, collapsed into a single infinitesimal point and vanished from reality with a final silent pop. The Kronos lance hit nothing. It passed through the space where the nebula had been, and dissipated harmlessly into the now truly empty void beyond. Silence. A profound, echoing silence reigned on the bridge of the Vigilance. The Ghost Nebula was empty again. The stasis field was gone. The gray swarm was gone. Kenji frantically scanned the area, his hands flying over his console. "I'm reading nothing, Admiral. No swarm. No stasis field. No anomalous temporal readings. Just normal empty space." He paused, his voice trembling with a mixture of shock and overwhelming relief. "I'm picking up the Huntsman Wing's transponders. They're clear of the event horizon. All 100 are accounted for. They made it." A ragged, disbelieving cheer erupted on the bridge. Across the sector, the Allied fleets sent chaotic messages of celebration and awe. The Silicate ships, their ultimate weapon a useless monument to their own hubris, floated in stunned silence, their perfect logical world shattered. Admiral Eva Rostova leaned back in her command chair, the tension of 5 long, desperate years draining from her in a single, shuddering breath. They had faced a cosmic horror, a ghost from the galaxy's forgotten past, and had won, not with bigger guns or superior technology, but with a forgotten strength, an echo of their own primitive, predatory past. Humanity, the young, emotional, biological race, had looked into the abyss and, guided by the instincts of a hunter, had taught the entire galaxy that sometimes the most advanced solutions are buried not in the future, but in the deepest, oldest, wildest parts of the soul. The Huntsman Wing used their innate focus to save the galaxy. Their story, the tale of the Great Hunt, would be told for generations. What human trait, born from our own unique and often violent history on Earth, do you think would be our greatest and most surprising strength on the galactic stage? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one.